The warning. Commander Elena Santos stood at her station aboard the Lunar Defense Station Artemis, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing Earth's orbital defense grid. 20 years of service in the United Earth Defense Force hadn't prepared her for what she was seeing. The quantum sensors, disguised as routine atmospheric monitoring equipment, had detected something massive approaching from the direction of Alpha Centauri. "Run the analysis again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Lieutenant James Chen's fingers flew across his haptic interface, the quantum computers processing the data for the third time. "Confirmation verified, Commander. We're detecting approximately 300 vessels, each ranging from destroyer to dreadnought class. Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our database." James paused, swallowing hard. "They're trying to mask their approach, but our quantum detection array is picking up their wake through subspace." Elena closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the strange message she'd received just 1 week ago. An encrypted quantum transmission, bypassing all standard communications channels, had appeared on her private terminal. The sender identified themselves only as Guardian, claiming to be part of a secret organization that had been preparing Earth for this exact moment for the past 50 years. The message had seemed impossible at the time. Warnings of an imminent invasion by a species known as the Hexarchy, details about their technology, and most incredibly, coordinates to a hidden facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, where humanity's real defenses allegedly waited. Commander, Dr. Sarah Williams, their xenoanthropologist, called from her station. "We're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, in perfect English." The main display shifted, showing a being that appeared to be made of crystalline structures arranged in hexagonal patterns. Its voice resonated with an artificial smoothness that set Elena's teeth on edge. "People of Earth, we are the Hexarchy Collective. We have observed your civilization and deemed it worthy of integration into our empire. Resistance is inadvisable. Your technology is primitive, your defenses inadequate. Submit to assimilation, and we will guide your species to enlightenment. You have 12 Earth hours to surrender your world." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in silence. Elena's hand moved to the quantum key hanging around her neck, the one that had arrived with Guardian's message. She'd had it analyzed in secret, confirming it was made of impossible materials, using quantum engineering centuries beyond Earth's supposed capabilities. "Orders, Commander," Lieutenant Chen asked, his voice barely a whisper. Elena straightened her uniform, decision made. "Contact the Security Council. Tell them we're initiating Protocol Omega." She turned to her Chief of Security. "Major Rivera, assemble a team. We're taking a submarine to these coordinates." She transmitted the location from Guardian's message to his tablet. "Ma'am." Rivera looked confused. "That's the middle of the Pacific Ocean. There's nothing there." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "That's what we were meant to think." She addressed the entire command center. "The Hexarchy thinks we're primitive because that's what they were meant to see. For 50 years, someone has been preparing for this moment, building our real defenses in absolute secrecy. Now we get to find out if they were right." As her team mobilized, Elena looked one last time at the holographic display, showing the approaching Hexarchy fleet. They thought Earth was defenseless, their invasion a mere formality. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was in appearing weaker than they truly were. The next 12 hours would determine the fate of Earth, and Elena couldn't shake the feeling that she was about to discover that everything she thought she knew about humanity's technological capabilities had been an elaborate deception. The real question wasn't whether Earth had defenses, it was what kind of defenses had been hiding in plain sight all along. The submarine cut through the dark Pacific waters, its quantum-silenced engines making less noise than the ocean itself. Elena studied the crew compartment, noting the mix of anticipation and fear on the faces of her hastily assembled team. Dr. Williams was reviewing xenobiological data on her tablet, while Major Rivera checked their descent path for the 100th time. 5 minutes to target coordinates, the pilot announced. Elena touched the quantum key, feeling its slight vibration against her palm. According to Guardian's message, they would find something called Project Aurora waiting at the coordinates, humanity's true first line of defense against extraterrestrial threats. The depth meter passed 3,000 meters, far deeper than any known military installation. Suddenly, a massive structure began to materialize on their sensors, previously hidden by what the readings suggested was some form of quantum camouflage. "My God," Dr. Williams breathed, staring at the readings. "That facility, it's larger than Manhattan." The submarine's communications array crackled to life with a transmission using quantum encryption protocols that shouldn't exist for at least another century. "Welcome, Commander Santos. We've been expecting you." Project Aurora awakens. The true scale of humanity's secret preparations was about to be revealed, and Elena had a feeling the Hexarchy's certainty about Earth's primitive status was about to be their first and last mistake. Project Aurora. The massive underwater facility stretched before Elena and her team, its architecture defying conventional engineering. Quantum light strips illuminated corridors that seemed to bend space itself, leading them deeper into humanity's greatest secret. Dr. Marcus Zhang, Project Aurora's lead scientist, walked beside them. His age was difficult to determine, but his eyes held the weight of decades of secrecy. Guardian was founded in 1973, he explained, when our quantum sensors detected the first Hexarchy probe entering the solar system. We knew then that we weren't alone, and that we needed to prepare. 50 years, Elena mused, watching as they passed laboratories filled with technology that shouldn't exist. "You've been building all this for 50 years, and no one knew." Marcus smiled. "Not no one, Commander. Every major nation has representatives here, working in absolute secrecy. We learned early on that the Hexarchy had ways of detecting advanced technology. So we developed in secret, keeping our true capabilities hidden beneath a carefully maintained facade of primitive development." They entered what appeared to be a command center that made Elena's station on Luna look like a child's toy. Holographic displays showed real-time quantum scans of the entire solar system, tracking every movement of the approaching Hexarchy fleet. "Their invasion force is larger than we anticipated," Marcus noted, studying the displays. 347 capital ships, over 2,000 support vessels. They're preparing to deploy their standard conquest formation. Major Rivera whistled low. "Even with advanced tech, how do we fight numbers like that?" "We don't," a new voice answered. An elderly woman emerged from a quantum lift, her uniform bearing no insignia, but commanding immediate respect. "We let them defeat themselves. I'm Admiral Chen, the last surviving founder of Guardian." Elena's eyes widened. "Chen, like?" "Lieutenant James Chen is my grandson," the Admiral confirmed, "though he doesn't know it. Maintaining operational security meant sacrificing many things, including family connections." The Admiral approached the central display, her movements precise despite her age. "The Hexarchy has conquered 17 civilizations using the same strategy. They observe, they intimidate, they overwhelm. But they've never encountered a species that spent half a century preparing specifically for them." She gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show what looked like massive orbital platforms, currently invisible to conventional detection. Project Aurora isn't just this facility. It's a solar system-wide defense network disguised as space debris, abandoned satellites, and asteroid fragments. Every piece of space junk they detected, quantum-shielded weapon platforms waiting for activation. Dr. Williams stepped forward, her xenoanthropologist's curiosity evident. "You've been studying them all this time. What have you learned?" "Everything," Marcus answered. "Their biology, their technology, their tactics. Most importantly, their weaknesses. The Hexarchy's greatest vulnerability is their absolute certainty in their technological superiority." Admiral Chen nodded. "They're so convinced of their dominance that they've become predictable. Their ships will enter standard conquest formation. They'll demand surrender. When refused, they'll launch their first wave, exactly as they've done 17 times before. Elena studied the tactical displays, her military training recognizing the elegant simplicity of the plan. We're going to let them think their intelligence about Earth was correct. Let them commit fully to their standard invasion strategy. Precisely, the Admiral confirmed. But first, you need to see what you'll be commanding. She pressed a sequence into a nearby console, and the floor beneath them became transparent. Elena gasped. Stretching below them, in a cavern that shouldn't have been possible at this depth, was a fleet. But these weren't the clumsy chemical rockets the world thought represented Earth's space capability. These ships looked like they'd been designed by artists who understood quantum mechanics, their hulls incorporating crystalline structures that mirrored hexarchy technology while surpassing it. "Welcome to humanity's real navy, Commander," Admiral Chen said softly. "Over 5 decades of development, incorporating everything we learned from studying the hexarchy. Ships that can match their technology, while using innovations they've never imagined." Marcus gestured to the nearest vessel, a sleek craft that seemed to bend light around itself. "Our flagship, the Terra Dawn. Quantum drives, AI neural networks that can predict and counter hexarchy battle algorithms, and weapon systems that—" He paused, smiling. "Well, let's just say they're eager to be tested in actual combat." Elena turned to Admiral Chen. "Why me? Why reveal all this now?" The Admiral's expression softened slightly. "Because you remind me of myself at your age. When the first hexarchy probe arrived, I was a junior officer who asked the right questions. Now it's your turn. The hexarchy expects to find a primitive species cowering before their might. Instead, they're going to find humanity at its finest, led by someone who understands both conventional tactics and the importance of appearing weak until the perfect moment to strike." The command center hummed with activity as data streamed in from across the solar system. The hexarchy fleet was moving into its final attack positions, completely unaware that their every movement was being monitored by quantum sensors far beyond their detection capabilities. "They'll enter optimal strike range in 6 hours, Major Rivera reported. Admiral Chen looked at Elena. "Commander Santos, Project Aurora is now under your command. Humanity's true first contact with the galaxy won't be as the primitive species the hexarchy expects to easily conquer. It will be as the civilization that ended their expansion once and for all." Elena straightened, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. "Send word to all Aurora facilities across the solar system. Begin final preparation for Operation Thunderstrike. Let's show the hexarchy exactly what humanity has been hiding all these years." The deception gambit. The hexarchy fleet filled Earth's orbital space, their crystalline ships casting strange shadows on the planet below. From every visible measure, humanity's response had been exactly what they expected: panicked, disorganized, and primitive. A handful of chemical rockets had been launched, easily swatted aside by the fleet's automated defenses. In the hexarchy command ship, Supreme War Master Vex Thor observed the planet through multiple sensor arrays, his crystalline form pulsing with satisfaction. 17 conquests, and they all follow the same pattern, he communicated to his command staff. "These humans are even more primitive than our initial scan suggested." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Elena watched the hexarchy's movements on Project Aurora's quantum displays. Every ship's position, every energy signature, every communication was being intercepted and analyzed by AIs that had spent decades learning to crack hexarchy encryption. "They're deploying their ground invasion forces," Dr. Williams reported, studying the tactical feeds. "Exactly as predicted. They're following their standard conquest protocol to the letter." Elena nodded, exchanging glances with Admiral Chen. "Time to launch Phase 1. Let's show them what they expect to see." She opened a channel to the world's conventional military forces, the ones the hexarchy had detected. "All units, execute Protocol Omega-1. Make it look good." Across the globe, Earth's visible military assets sprang into action. Fighter jets scrambled, missile silos opened, and radar installations tracked the incoming Hexarchy vessels. It was an impressive display of force by early 21st century standards, and completely useless against the invaders' technology. Vexthor's crystalline form flickered with amusement as his sensors registered the human's response. Primitive projectile weapons and chemical explosives. They don't even have basic shield technology. He gestured to his tactical officer. Deploy the first wave of ground forces. Standard pacification protocol. The Hexarchy's dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their shields easily deflecting the missiles and artillery fire directed at them. They landed in strategic locations across the globe. Military bases, government centers, and population hubs. In Project Aurora's command center, Alina watched the invasion unfold. Status of the quantum net. Marcus checked his displays. Fully operational but dormant. The Hexarchy scans pass right through it. They literally can't see what they're not looking for. Their ground forces are now within the containment grid. Admiral Chen smiled thinly. 50 years of studying their technology, and they never once considered that another species might learn to manipulate quantum fields more effectively than they could. Alina opened a secure channel to the hidden Aurora facilities scattered across the planet. All stations, prepare for Phase 2. Remember, let them think they've won until they're fully committed. The Hexarchy ground forces met token resistance as they secured their landing zones. Human military forces fought bravely, but were hopelessly outmatched by the invaders' energy weapons and personal shield systems. Vexthor watched the reports flow in with growing satisfaction. Supreme Warmaster, his tactical officer communicated, we're detecting unusual energy fluctuations from the planet's core. Irrelevant. Vexthor dismissed. Probable geological activity. These humans haven't even mastered basic planetary engineering. He turned his attention to the next phase of the invasion. Prepare the neural compliance transmitters. Once activated, their population will join the collective without further resistance. In the Aurora Command Center, Dr. Williams straightened suddenly. They're deploying their compliance transmitters, the mind control technology they used on Proxima b. Alina's eyes narrowed. Right on schedule. Admiral, are you certain about this next part? Admiral Chen's expression was fierce. We've spent 50 years reverse engineering every piece of Hexarchy technology we could detect. Trust me, Commander, they're about to learn that humans don't take kindly to attempted mind control. Helena nodded and opened a channel to all Aurora stations. All units, prepare for Phase 2 initiation. Quantum shield generators to full power on my mark. The Hexarchy compliance transmitters activated simultaneously across the globe, broadcasting the neural patterns that had subjugated 17 other species. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, throughout their fleet, sensors began registering massive energy signatures emerging from what had appeared to be empty space. Supreme Warmaster. The tactical officer's crystalline form vibrated with alarm. Unknown technology activating across the planet's surface. Before Vexthor could respond, quantum fields shimmed into visibility around every major population center. The compliance signals hit the fields and reflected back, amplified and recalibrated. Throughout the Hexarchy ground forces, crystalline forms began to crack as their own technology was turned against them. Impossible. Vexthor's form pulsed with rage and disbelief. Their species is primitive. They have no quantum technology. Alina's voice cut through every Hexarchy communication channel, translated perfectly into their own language. I'm afraid your intelligence was somewhat outdated, Supreme Warmaster. Allow us to show you what humanity has really been working on for the past 50 years. Across the Earth, hidden installations began to power up. What the Hexarchy had dismissed as background radiation was revealed to be a planetary-scale quantum defense network. Their ground forces found themselves trapped in containment fields they couldn't detect, much less breach. Phase 2 complete, Major Rivera reported. All Hexarchy ground forces are contained. Their compliance transmitters have been neutralized and reversed. Elena looked at Admiral Chen, who nodded grimly. Send word to the fleet, Elena ordered. The Terra Dawn launches in 5 minutes. It's time to show the Hexarchy that humanity isn't just capable of defending itself. We're capable of taking the fight to them. The real battle for Earth was about to begin, and the Hexarchy was about to learn why underestimating humanity had been their greatest mistake. Symphony of War. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, massive hangar doors opened silently, displacing water through quantum fields that left no trace of their operation. The Terra Dawn rose from its half-century of waiting, its crystalline hybrid hull refracting light, in ways that made it seem both there and not there at the same time. Behind it, dozens of other ships emerged from hidden bases across Earth's oceans, humanity's true fleet revealing itself at last. Elena stood on the Terra Dawn's command deck, surrounded by holographic displays showing every aspect of the battle to come. The ship's quantum AI, Aurora, manifested as a shifting pattern of light beside her. All systems operational, Commander, Aurora reported. The Hexarchy fleet remains in optimal strike position, exactly as predicted. They still haven't detected our launch. 50 years of preparation, Elena mused, watching as more ships joined their formation. Let's make them count. Signal the fleet. Operation Thunderstrike begins now. In the Hexarchy command ship, Vexthor was still reeling from the failure of their ground invasion when new alarms blared. Supreme Warmaster, multiple vessels emerging from the planet's oceans. Energy signatures. Impossible. They're using hybrid quantum technology. The Terra Dawn's fleet rose through Earth's atmosphere, their quantum drives leaving no exhaust trails, their hulls absorbing or deflecting all standard scanning methods. They moved with precision that spoke of years of drilling and preparation, taking up positions that had been planned and refined countless times. Tactical analysis, Elena commanded. Show me what they see. The holographic display shifted, showing the Hexarchy fleet's formation through their own sensors. Their ships were arranged in the same pattern they'd used to conquer 17 other worlds, a formation designed to overwhelm primitive planetary defenses. They've never had to fight an enemy who understood quantum mechanics better than they do. Admiral Chen observed from her position at the strategic console. Their formation is optimized for conventional warfare. Elena nodded. Aurora, initiate quantum field synchronization. All ships prepare to execute Maneuver Prometheus. Throughout Earth's fleet, quantum fields began to align and synchronize in ways the Hexarchy had never imagined possible. Their ships hadn't just copied Hexarchy technology. They'd evolved it, pushed it in directions the crystalline beings had never considered. Supreme Warmaster, Vexthor's tactical officer reported, the human vessels are generating some kind of linked quantum field. Our sensors cannot penetrate. The officer never finished his sentence. The Terra Dawn's fleet executed their maneuver simultaneously, their synchronized quantum fields creating a cascading wave of space-time distortion. Throughout the Hexarchy fleet, shields flickered and failed as reality itself seemed to twist around them. Now, Elena commanded, all ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Show them what humanity has learned from 50 years of studying their tactics. Earth's ships moved like dancers in a deadly ballet, their movements guided by AIs that had spent decades analyzing every recorded Hexarchy battle. They struck from angles the crystalline beings had never defended against, using weapons that operated on principles their sensors couldn't even detect. Impossible. Vexthor's crystalline form vibrated with fury and fear. Their technology. They can't have developed this independently. Elena's voice cut through their communications again. You're right, Supreme Warmaster. We didn't develop this independently. We developed it by studying you. Every probe you sent, every scan you made, every piece of technology you thought we couldn't detect. We learned from all of it, and then we improved upon it. The Terra Dawn's main weapon powered up, a quantum cascade device that had taken 30 years to perfect. It fired, and space itself seemed to fold around a Hexarchy dreadnought. When reality snapped back into place, the massive ship had been reduced to its component atoms. All ships, execute pattern Omega-3, Elena ordered. Let's show them exactly what humanity can do when we put our minds to it. Earth's fleet moved as one, their synchronized quantum fields creating effects the Hexarchy had never seen. Ships appeared to be in multiple places at once, weapons fired from angles that shouldn't have been possible, and carefully planned maneuvers cut through the enemy formation like a scalpel through tissue. Commander, Aurora reported, enemy fleet cohesion is breaking down. They're attempting to regroup for a mass fire attack. Elena smiled grimly. Exactly as the simulations predicted. All ships, prepare for Phase 4. Let's end this. The Hexarchy fleet, for the first time in their long history of conquest, found themselves facing an enemy that hadn't just matched their technology, but had surpassed it. Their attempts to regroup were met with precisely calculated counterattacks, their defensive formations shattered by weapons they couldn't detect until it was too late. Supreme Warmaster, the tactical officer's voice was heavy with defeat. We've lost 30% of the fleet. Our remaining ships are reporting critical system failures across all quantum matrices. Vexthor stared at the tactical display, watching as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. How? He demanded. How do they hide this from us? Elena's voice answered him one final time. Because you never imagined that a primitive species could understand quantum mechanics well enough to hide their true capabilities from your scans. Your arrogance was our greatest advantage. The Terra Dawn moved into position for the final strike, its quantum cascade weapon powering up once more. Earth's fleet had executed their battle plan perfectly, proving that 50 years of preparation could overcome even the most advanced alien technology. The real question now wasn't whether humanity would win. It was what they would do with their victory. Dawn of a new era. The Hexarchy command ship hung motionless in Earth orbit, its crystalline structure dulled by battle damage. Around it, the remnants of their once mighty invasion fleet drifted in disarray, their quantum systems disrupted by weapons they still couldn't comprehend. On the Terra Dawn's command deck, Elena watched as Supreme Warmaster Vexthor's image materialized in the holographic display. The Hexarchy Collective. Vexthor's voice carried the weight of unprecedented defeat, requests terms for surrender. Admiral Chen stepped forward, her eyes sharp despite her age. Unconditional surrender of all forces, immediate withdrawal from the Sol system, and the release of all 17 species you've subjugated. Vexthor's crystalline form shifted in what the humans had learned to recognize as extreme distress. You don't understand. The neural compliance technology. It's integrated into their societies now. Their worlds depend on it. Removing it would cause chaos. We understand better than you think, Dr. Williams replied, stepping into view. We've spent 50 years studying not just your technology, but its effects on other species. Project Aurora didn't just develop weapons. We developed countermeasures for everything you've done to other civilizations. Elena nodded to Marcus, who activated a quantum transmission. Data streamed to the Hexarchy command ship. Detailed plans for safely deactivating the neural compliance networks while maintaining social stability. This is just a small sample of what humanity has developed while you thought we were primitive, Elena explained. We're offering you a choice. Work with us to free those civilizations, or we'll do it ourselves. In Project Aurora's command center beneath the Pacific, screens showed reactions from around the world as humanity's true technological capabilities were revealed to the public. 50 years of secrecy were ending, and with it, Earth's isolation in the galaxy. What happens now? Major Rivera asked, watching news feeds from every nation struggle to process the revelation that humanity had been far more advanced than anyone had suspected. Admiral Chen smiled. Now we help build something better than the Hexarchy's empire. Earth isn't just joining the galactic community. We're reshaping it. The next few weeks saw dramatic changes across the galaxy. Earth ships, no longer hiding their capabilities, travel to each of the 17 subjugated worlds. The quantum technology that had defeated the Hexarchy proved equally effective at dismantling their control systems. Species that had lived under neural compliance for generations began to wake up. Elena stood on the observation deck of the Terra Dawn, watching as representatives from newly freed worlds arrived for diplomatic talks. Each species brought their own perspective, their own technology, their own hopes for the future. Earth had become a symbol of resistance and liberation. The Hexarchy never understood. Admiral Chen remarked, joining Elena at the window. They saw our technological development and assumed we would follow the same path they did, using it to dominate others. They couldn't imagine that we'd choose a different way. In the ship's conference room, Dr. Williams led discussions with scientists from a dozen worlds, sharing knowledge that had been suppressed under Hexarchy rule. The quantum mechanics that humanity had refined in secret were being combined with unique insights from other species, leading to breakthroughs that would have been impossible in isolation. We're establishing a new coalition, Elena announced to the assembled representatives. Not an empire built on control, but an alliance founded on mutual respect and shared knowledge. Earth pledges its technology and resources not to dominate, but to defend the right of every species to develop in their own way. The quantum communications network, once used by the Hexarchy to maintain their control, was being repurposed. Where it had once carried compliance signals, it now transmitted scientific data, cultural exchanges, and diplomatic communications between free worlds. Marcus approached Elena with a data tablet. The first reports from the frontier colonies are coming in. Worlds we never knew existed, species the Hexarchy kept hidden from each other. They're all reaching out, looking to join the alliance. Elena studied the reports, remembering how this had all started with a mysterious warning and a quantum key. 50 years ago, Guardian looked to the stars and saw potential threats. But they also saw potential allies. They built weapons, yes, but they also built bridges, ways to understand and communicate with other species. The Terra Dawn's quantum AI manifested beside them. Commander, we're receiving transmissions from 32 previously unknown civilizations. They've been monitoring our activities since the Hexarchy's defeat. They wish to open diplomatic relations. Admiral Chen's eyes sparkled with the same determination that had driven her to help found Guardian half a century ago. The galaxy's watching, Commander. Humanity's shown we can fight when necessary. Now let's show them we can lead. In orbit above Earth, ships from a dozen species gathered for the signing of the Galactic Concordat. The document, drafted by representatives from all the freed worlds, established principles of mutual defense, scientific cooperation, and cultural exchange. Earth, the world that had shattered the Hexarchy's power, would serve not as an emperor, but as a protector. The Hexarchy thought understanding quantum mechanics made them superior. Elena reflected, watching the ceremony. What they never grasped was that true advancement isn't just about technology. It's about how you choose to use it. As the signatures were recorded and the Concordat became official, quantum communications carried the news to every corner of known space. The age of the Hexarchy was over. A new era was beginning, shaped not by conquest and control, but by cooperation and shared progress. Humanity had proven they could fight. Now they would prove they could build, protect, and inspire. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, holding the promise of discoveries and friendships yet to come. The galaxy was changing, and Earth, once dismissed as a primitive backwater, was helping to guide that change toward a better future for all species. Admiral Chen touched the quantum key she still wore, the same one she had given Elena at the start of this journey. Ready for what comes next, Commander. Elena smiled, looking out at the assembled ships of their new alliance. Ready to show the galaxy what humanity can really do.